We have an incredible topic for you, all about the ultimate guide to launching a student-run business. Now, the word ultimate is a strong word, and I wouldn't use it unless I knew that what we have to share with you today is truly everything that you need to know to launch your own student-run business. This is an extremely popular topic among our K-12 districts, so we know you're going to get a lot of great information out of our special guest speaker today, Mike Dietrich, who is our Vice President of K-12 and Instructor Training. Mike, thanks for being on the webinar today.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. Excited to be here.
So let's jump right into it. How on earth did you come up with the idea of a student-run business?
Yeah, great question. We work across 7 states, and I have a team that works with me, and we run into student-run businesses all the time. They're extremely popular programs, typically used as a capstone, and we support those programs with a lot of our tools and learning resources. But the way we got started with this new initiative for us is we actually were posed to or tasked by a district to actually, hey, we're looking at doing a student-run business, but our industry partners want us to have it revolve around 3D printing as a new emerging technology for that particular business. So we took on their challenge and their call to action, and we actually met together as a team. And when we kind of put our heads together, we thought, this normally isn't our wheelhouse, but we actually do have a lot of experience in running and scaling a business. Prior to 2015, Lab Midwest was a team of three employees. And then since then, over the last almost 6 years, we've grown to almost 20 individuals working for our mission across our 7 states, growing that team, supporting our customers and instructors. So in some ways, on a much smaller scale, we actually do have a lot of experience in running a business, how to scale it, how to complete that whole business process, which is one of the big things that really inspired us in this task.
Yeah, for sure. Look at that. That's a great background to showing that you and your team know what you're doing when you're giving advice on how to launch a student-run business. So that's interesting. You're tasked by this school district to come up with how would you do it, and you sit down in your planning meeting, and before you even put pen to paper, I mean, it sounds like the possibilities with where you could go with this are endless. How do you even begin to put pen to paper? How do you even create a vision for what a successful student-run business could even look like?
Yeah, like with all things that we do, we often like to set out a general list of guiding principles. And usually at the top of the list, almost always, is that the student experience comes first. We want to make sure that this is a valuable learning environment for a student and that they're getting a holistic experience. And we'll probably touch on that a little bit more, but that's always number one in our when we're coming up with programs like this. We also wanted to show, like I mentioned before, we want to familiarize students with the entire business process, making sure that we incorporate every aspect of being able to develop and design and produce a product, but also the back end of it, where you need to invoice customers and take on quotes and market it. We also wanted to make sure we integrate Industry 4.0 technology. Industry 4.0, not many people remember that it's all based off of streamlining or making your business more efficient using data analytics and smart technology. That's really the point of this, is to maximize your growth opportunity as a business. We definitely wanted to create a sustainable business model. We'll touch on a couple different ideas on how to maybe take a product to market versus being able to take on contracts. And then we also wanted to make sure we leverage the current investment that schools make in curriculum, equipment, on-site capabilities, as well as additional programs that are within a school district or nearby student-run businesses. But when sitting down as a team, these were the main guiding principles that we wanted to focus on as we start to develop what a 3D printing student-run business could look like.
I love this, Mike. I mean, if anybody comes and puts together some large endeavor, if you don't have a set of guiding principles to say, where do we want to get there and what's most important, you could end up going in a whole lot of different directions. There could be a whole lot of miscommunication, and you could get a lot of butting heads. So I love that you started with this when you were coming up with this ultimate guide to launching a student-run business. You mentioned this before, so I have to ask for some more details. Have you seen, you mentioned that you have seen student-run businesses before. What have you seen out there?
A whole bunch of different incredible programs, and there's definitely some that come to mind that are kind of cream of the crop that really focus on a capstone learning experience. And then I run into some other ones where they might be focused more about just how to create a product, how to create a profit, or what can we build to maximize the amount of money that we can earn in just a single calendar year. But really, from our standpoint, it's not just about the product, it's about the student. I've run into some student-run business programs where it tends to be more like a job shop, or just a metal manufacturing shop where they take on just kind of random customer orders. They complete the product and then they give it back to them. And that's the course of an entire multi-semester program. And I always kind of question, like, well, where's the intentional learning happening? And that's something that's really important to us at Lab Midwest, making sure that we're making an effort to tie our students to different certifications or post-secondary programs, or what local industry partners are looking for. So some of the best student-run businesses that I've seen, they actually have intentional learning with a classroom component where they have different pathways leading into that capstone student-run business. They're incorporating the engineering design process, or maybe looping in a CAD course section to collaborate and work with the production side of things, which of course production and fabrication is really important. And then also being able to go from taking an idea to actually all the way through the whole process to sell a product and take it to market. Those are really the student-run businesses that we feel they just have such much more valuable experience, and they're going to impact a lot more students, and quite frankly, create a sustainable business model for future growth.
You're exactly right about that. I mean, incorporating all of those elements is really necessary to any successful business. And I want to unpack this phrase that you used in your last answer, intentional learning. And it sounds to me like this is the key differentiator between a job shop and a successful student business. So tell me a little bit more about intentional learning.
It's really kind of the world that I came from as a former teacher. I was often tied to standards and specific topic areas that I was required to teach. And again, students participating in a student-run business, they're not necessarily all going to go be machinists, or they're not going to all go be part of a welding and machine tool shop, or work even in the skilled trades or advanced manufacturing as a whole. So really, when we focus on intentional learning, we want to give as much learning opportunities to our students in a really meaningful way, so that we can tie to those certifications, so that we can tie to those post-secondary programs. So throughout this entire presentation, we've kind of put out some ideas of, we have a lot of resources that give that intentional learning to students, making sure that there's a real purpose to why we're doing this, and that it's going to hit all different levels of, or even just aspects of running that student-run business, not just the production, the fabrication. That's really, really important, but we want to make sure we're taking in the engineering design process and teaching students about print reading and quality control and continuous improvement, Kaizen and SSS, 5S. It's really, those are some of the things that our employers are looking for. And if we can give students some of that background, no matter what field they go into, they're going to be pretty valuable employees in their future careers.
Yes, they absolutely will. So we're going to get into the meat and bones of your business idea here. Mike, tell us, what is the business model for your successful student-run business?
Well, we approach it right off the bat. We want to focus on multiple revenue streams. Again, we're trying to avoid just the job shop taking on random contracts coming in. That is a viable way to run a business. And in fact, contract manufacturing is extremely lucrative. But that should just be one form of revenue that's coming into our student-run business. It's, there are opportunities to take on long-term contracts from different companies or customers. We just want to make sure that we're scaling the business so that it's not just the one-offs over and over again, but we can actually provide a lot more business growth, product development. So really, we want students to be able to also design products and then take those products to market. So again, going from that concept of idea generation all the way to launch, where we have a marketing plan, we have a sales team, everything in the middle is really, really important in terms of engineering, design, and fabrication and production, but also tying in that, again, manufacturing is all about running a business. It's not just about creating a part. So being able to take a product to market is really where I see, that's where we get that high level, high functioning student run business. But of course, you start making a name for yourself by taking a product to market, you're going to be drawing a lot of attention from, depending on where you're focusing on, you're going to be drawing a lot of attention from local industry partners, community members. There's also some, very lucrative aspects to having multiple revenue streams.
Yeah, there absolutely is. So Mike, break it down for us a little bit. We have this business model and we have two different revenue streams for where we're going to be pulling in money for the business. How does this actually work? What does the business process look like for that student run business?
Absolutely. So I am going to break it down from start to finish, but I want to make a quick note. What I'm about to show you really is any type of business process from start to finish. So within our example that we're showing you today, it's all about kind of a 3D printing student run business, but it could be with metal fabrication. It could be with marketing and design work. It could be with furniture construction. There's a lot of different tools and resources and technology that you can use with this, but we firmly believe, and this is an exercise we did as a company, every single business has to go from basically this process from start to finish. And really that starts with ideation, coming up with an idea of what that business is, whether you're developing a product, whether you are taking on contracts. There's a design feature to it using computer aided design and drawings and print reading. Prototyping is really important, but we don't want to just stop at prototyping. We want to keep going and finish that whole process. So prototyping and prototype testing, maybe getting client feedback or focus group on whether our prototype actually might work for our specific solution or contract. Cost analysis and pricing is huge because we're not going to scale if we waste all of our money on just our prototypes. Sales and marketing. You can't get your product to market unless you actually have a team actively working on that aspect of the business. And of course, they got to secure orders and then work with the design team and actually be able to engineering design team work with the manufacturing and production side of it to create that product. Of course, you got to secure materials, and streamline the manufacturing process, be able to get into production planning, workforce planning, who's going to staff and be a part of this business. The fabrication, the machining, the printing is so important, but we don't stop there. We have to go into in-process inspection. Maybe there's a post-production assembly. Hopefully by this point, we have a completed product, that final quality inspection. And then of course, getting into the logistics planning of how do we actually get our product to the customer? Who's going to deliver it? Is it going to be shipped out? Who's going to collect payment from the customer? Will there be any type of technical service or integration or things that we need to install? And then post-mortem is kind of the slang term for all of this, where we go back, we look at our process and we see, all right, how can we improve it? How can we run that Kaizen or continuous improvement exercise and make our process better? This from start to finish is running a business, and it doesn't matter what business or sector that you're in, or whether you're taking on contracts or taking a product to market. These are all the different things that you need to take account of as you're trying to be successful.
Absolutely, Mike. And that's just incredible the way that you have laid that out from start to finish. And you're right. No matter what kind of business you're in, maybe some of these aren't as applicable, but this is the business process for any business. So, any student run business, no matter what it is you're fabricating or bringing to market, you have to go through this process. And that involves a lot of different people. And I think one of the ways that we have differentiated this whole student run business plan is by replicating what you might see in the actual workforce when it comes to having different teams and different departments working together to create the product and to bring it to market. Can you talk a little bit about the different teams we have?
Absolutely. So looking at this seems like a lot of work, but remember, one of our guiding principles is leverage the curriculum, the resources, the tools, the departments, the programs that you already have. So when we look at this business process, that we really break it down into 4 different categories or 4 different teams. First one being marketing and sales. Second being the accounting side of things, making sure our finances are in order. Of course, the engineering side is huge in terms of being able to design a product or design a solution for a customer. And then, of course, the production side of it. But I'll tell you that you cannot provide a more meaningful learning experience for students who are in the world of fabrication when they have to actually hold it up to a standard, not just of an instructor, but of an outside customer. So that quality piece really comes into play. So when we look at our entire business process, we want to make sure that we're breaking down these different aspects of the business. Production is really important, but everything around it is really what's going to make it a much more meaningful and successful business.
For sure. And I want to focus first on those top 2, because for those in our audience who know us really well, they know that the engineering and the production and quality side are our bread and butter. And that's often what we think of when we think of career and technical education and the skilled trades, all of those hands-on workers who love to build and make things. But no business can be successful unless you have those what some might call the front office type roles. So how exactly do the marketing and sales and then the accounting and finance fall into the student run business?
Sure. If we look at our path again of the entire business process, and let's start with the marketing and sales team. So if we were to identify what are the key areas that we're focusing on ideation, maybe getting our customer feedback, sales, marketing, secure orders. You're right. This isn't necessarily Lab Midwest's wheelhouse in terms of learning systems related to these, but we do have some good ideas and quite a bit of experience in terms of the sales and marketing, ideation, working with our customers and feedback. So again, right off the bat, we do have some intentional learning resources that tie in some of those topic areas. But we often recommend, and this is what we did for the school district that tasked us to do this, we wanted to leverage what they were currently doing. So that particular school district already had a business management administration pathway. They had an HR pathway. They had a marketing pathway. Use those programs and use those instructors and those students and give them an application. And if you can work out to collaborate a little bit more, you can make a lot less work for just one individual running an entire student-run business. One of the things we'd also recommend at another school district, if you have that pathway, maybe using a videography department or the graphic design. Again, extremely talented, artistic students that you can go through their own intentional learning and apply what they've learned to the student-run business and maybe help that program develop a marketing plan and develop literature to use and promotional materials. So we definitely recommend to leverage those current programs and resources that are already at the school. If we look at the accounting side, so focusing on things on cost analysis, pricing, that whole process of invoicing the customer, collecting the payment, paying the bills. Again, with that same school district, we encourage them, you've got a finance and accounting pathway, have them work your books. have them be a part of that process. It's such a great experience when, again, you need to go and tell and work with a customer, hey, we require payment net 30 after ship date, and collecting that payment and running through that process, the real world application. And also just a couple of other ideas, Intuit online has a lot of great free resources for instructors. So this has nothing to do with Lab Midwest and what we do, but there's great free educational programs for K-12 school districts, all related to using TurboTax or QuickBooks. There's a lot of great resources online. So even if you are a smaller operation that doesn't necessarily have a full finance or accounting pathway, there's some great resources that you can use. And then the last thing kind of in this area, we can actually help a little bit with the cost analysis and pricing. So, again, a student-run business doesn't necessarily have an infinite amount of funds backing when they're first launching the business. So we actually use some of the 3D printing software that we have through Markforged, Eiger. They actually have some pretty cool features where they can show the print volume, the amount of plastic or fiber that you're using, as well as the material cost. And that way we can look and see how can we make a part as strong as possible, but still keep our costs down. It'd be really, really expensive to make a full carbon fiber part. But what if we can use our engineering and design team to work with our cost analysis and pricing, where we can actually reinforce specific areas of that part and make it just as strong to fit the solution or fit the need, but we can also save money and keep our costs low. So this is where we see that kind of blending of, yes, there's the design and the fabrication side of things. There's also that business side of it with the cost analysis and pricing. And that's really where we see that front office work coming in with the marketing and sales, as well as the accounting side of things. Your business isn't going to run if you don't have these two components in play.
You're absolutely right about that. And I think that's why I love the fact that you started out with those two, because everything that we see here in white, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is what gets a lot of our CTE students excited. But you're not going to have a successful student-run business unless you have that communication and that collaboration with all of those different aspects of the business. So I want to fill in the rest of this with what you've got for us. What about the engineering and the production side of the student-run business? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of great ideas and resources in this space. And again, we're showing this to you in a version of a 3D printed run business, but really this could apply to a lot of different technology and different sectors within the engineering, as well as the production and fabrication. So again, if you take a look, it's going from design and CAD into the prototype testing, working with design for manufacturing. I think that's a big step that needs to be taken, is not just drawing a part, but drawing it so that it can actually be fabricated and scaled, and then moving into the technical service and how do we improve our process. So again, we start out with a lot of intentional learning. The goal here is to not make kids really good at 3D printing, as in like how to repair them or how to just make a good print, but focus more on the engineering design process, structural material science, taking the concept of CAD to actual fabrication. But then again, where can we do that continuous fiber reinforcement and make a really strong, useful part, but still keep our costs down? So lots of intentional learning. And you've also heard me talk already about the prototype design. Prototyping is extremely important, and that's typically where we see a lot of 3D printing come into play. But the process shouldn't stop there. We can work with things like a Markforged printer to do the prototyping, but then we can also do, again, that reinforcement with strong fibers, make a carbon fiber infused part or Kevlar, depending on the application. That's where we can kind of get to the end use piece. But then we also want to focus on prototype testing. So again, before we actually get to the production side of things, we want to test our part and test its flexural strain, test its impact, whether we're shearing or tearing the part. How can we make it so that it's going to best suit the needs of the customer or the solution that we're trying to provide. And then of course, that also ties in that quality control. So precision gauging and measurement. This needs to be exact if we're going to take a product to market, or if a customer is actually expecting a product to perform a certain way. So that quality control piece is really, really, really important. We can also incorporate some more Industry 4.0 technology with things like Creaform, and they actually do 3D area scanning, but at a very high precision, high resolution level. And there's a couple different applications for this, which are pretty neat. One, we could take a part, maybe it's a broken part. We could take it in, we could run a 3D scan. We could actually pull out different STL files and create something that we're going to take to CAD and then to CAM if we're going to machine it, or 3D print it. So we can actually reverse engineer broken parts. And then what you'll see a little bit later on is we can actually use this to do for our final quality control and inspection. So the reverse engineering side of it's really important to provide more solutions to our customers, but then also the inspection side, that kind of helps with that quality control and making sure that whatever we produce, it's going out to the door to our customer. It's going to be in the best condition and the best performance and quality that it can be. This ties directly into the production side of things. So our engineering department is definitely going to need to be working with our production department. And how do we take that design and actually produce it to scale? So, who's going to staff it? Who's going to do the actual fabrication? Maybe there might be some opportunities for in-process inspection or assembly. Again, intentional learning is really important. You're working with a lot of high-tech, really cool technology like CNC machines, maybe multiple controls, print reading, drawings and assembly. Again, taking a drawn part and actually fabricating it, but maybe there's some type of post-process. So that intentional learning is really important on this front, because you're actually able to expose kids to a lot of different technologies and in different skill areas. And one of the things that we recommend, even with a 3D printing student-run business, is we want to employ an arsenal of solutions. It's just kind of a matter of fact, there are certain things that you are going to be able to 3D print, and you can only 3D print, and there are going to be certain things where you can only use subtractive manufacturing, like with a CNC mill or a lathe. We have a number of different resources like an EDU mill, which can actually do both. They can switch back and forth between doing a really high powerful spindle, subtractive manufacturing CNC mill, but then it can also easily switch over to working with a 3D print head. So that really kind of, again, completes that whole process. We do the CAD, the drawing and the design, and then maybe we do some of that prototyping with 3D printing, or maybe we do some of that prototyping with metal 3D printing, which is another emerging technology that's becoming more prevalent. And then from there, our design team and our production team needs to decide what's going to be the best solution. Is it going to be a metal 3D printed part, or is it going to be still using subtractive manufacturing and taking a piece of aluminum or another ferrous metal and actually create that part for our customer? On that same note, employing an arsenal of solutions, especially when it comes to scaling a business, being able to produce a lot of parts over a short amount of time, we often encourage maybe we can do something with injection molding and that kind of rapid manufacturing and rapid prototyping. This is still an extremely prevalent field across the country, where having a 3D print farm might be really expensive and might not be practical. But if we can use plastic injection molding and rapid manufacturing, and maybe use our CNC mill to create molds for maybe not just a part for final production, but maybe for a part that's part of the manufacturing process. And then from there, we often encourage, a 3D printed part doesn't have to just be that part standalone. Maybe there's some type of mechanical fabrication or assembly or post-process where we're putting in different rivets or adding in other components to create our final product. We really want to encourage that even in a 3D printing focused business, it's not just about 3D printing. It's a really important technology, but all of these different areas still play a role when we employ an arsenal of solutions. So again, this is admittedly a little bit more in our area of expertise, of how do we, foster the learning for engineering design and then production. And we have a lot of tools and resources that help with that. But these two specific departments need to work really closely together in order to, again, be able to bring a product to market, to scale, and to create a successful business model.
Wow, Mike, this is really incredible. Not just the array of technological solutions that you brought to the table, but talking about how they work together in the business process and then being backed by that curriculum so that student is participating in that intentional learning process is just mind-blowing. And we love to see it. And I think it's going to be a great asset to our schools looking to launch their own student-run business. Now, I have to ask, let's say that a school gets really excited about this whole concept and they want to launch their own student-run business, and they leverage some of the resources they have within their school, and they get this student-run business going. And like you said, maybe word gets out and they start taking on contracts from manufacturers within their local region. And maybe they come to a point where they either have so much student interest or so many work orders to fill that they have a need to scale the business. How do you suggest student-run businesses scale after they first launch?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that might take a little bit of time, but I truly believe if you offer multiple revenue streams, you are going to grow and grow rather quickly. So I've already alluded to a couple of ideas where maybe using different processes like plastic injection molding, again, really cheap material to be able to create a part that's part of our final end product or part of the manufacturing process. That's one option. The other one is we often emphasize the use of data and quality control for continuous improvement. It's just going to make your processes that much better. There's some really cool technology going into Markforged right now where they can actually do in-process quality control, where they can actually scan a part while it's being printed and compare it back to the original CAD file. So that way our printers are getting smarter and being able to tell us, how can we improve our design so that we get more consistent prints and we waste less material. Anything that you, all the money, think of the money that you can save if you're not wasting material on botched or bad prints. Continuing forward with that idea of data, it's just simply looking at how much material are you using in a given month. Where are some, maybe you have a couple of users that we've or programs or initiatives that we're seeing that they're costing us a lot of money. That's where we can get our business team or our accounting team to work with our engineering design, our production team to look at, hey, we need to kind of scale things back. This is becoming really expensive. Maybe there needs to be a price adjustment. So there's tons of opportunities in the Eiger software that works with Markforged to actually monitor that data of our production process. And then of course, 3D printing is becoming more prevalent and more accessible. You get more customers, you have more printers. You really need to focus on, who's printing what. Is it for the end product? Is it for the manufacturing process? There's some really cool software being utilized with Eiger fleets, where you can actually manage a fleet of printers and being able to incorporate multiple departments and maybe in multiple locations or across multiple school districts. That's where we can establish some of that scalability. But again, 3D printing aside, we also recommend maybe we can leverage some of our resources with other student-run businesses that might focus a little bit more on the metal fabrication side, or maybe a local technical or community college that has a really advanced machine tools shop, and maybe you could create some type of partnership where they could help you out with, maybe create a solution or create a mold for some parts that you want to produce. And on that note, even the mechanical design team that's at, or mechanical design programs that are at all these post-secondary schools, or maybe there's another high school nearby that has 2 and 3 sections of just CAD design that are delivering SolidWorks certifications. How can we collaborate with them and utilize our resources to really create almost like a conglomerate business of all working together? So again, our emphasis on scalability can look a lot of different ways, but we've got some tools and resources that can definitely help you with the data management, looking back and continuing to improve our process. We also recommend leverage the resources and the programs that are around you, because more often than not, someone else who focuses on a specific area, they might be able to do it better than you. Let's collaborate together and figure out a business plan that works.
So if we put everything that we've talked about for the last 20 minutes together, what does it look like?
All together, we see here, and this is where kind of the capstone or the ending to this whole presentation is really, when you look at this map, you see a lot of different programs, a lot of different areas, a lot of different skills that are being roped into a student-run business. I often hear from a lot of industry partners and programs where they really want to focus on the soft skills, and we know that our instructors and our teachers teach those soft skills every single day. But here I see being able to work under different deadlines, being able to collaborate with our with other departments or other students and programs that you might not normally collaborate with. Tons of teamwork and team planning need to come into this. Looking into quality and continuous improvement, being able to reflect and look back on your process. There is tons of learning, even outside of the technical realm of skills, but more into those 21st century soft skills, even getting to the point where being able to look at a potential customer in the eye, shake their hand, and be able to talk fluently about your product, about your process, about your business, and work with them in a polite and timely manner. There's so much learning that goes into this entire student-run business. So when I see this very colorful array of different programs and departments, I just see a wealth of opportunities to teach students those 21st century skills and really impress, our employers, but also and partners, but also to prepare students for their future career, whether it's in kind of that STEM or manufacturing space or not. There's a lot of valuable experience in here that they can use no matter what career path they follow.
Wow, Mike, this is just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and the ultimate guide to launching a student-run business. I'll let you wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you again for having me here, Melissa. It's always great to be back on Webinar Wednesday. I just want to put out the call to action that if anyone would like more information on what we shared today, or just even some general ideas on how to get things going with the student-run business, we've got a great team here at ATS Lab Midwest, and we're more than willing to help you look at what's possible now, what's possible further down the road, make connections to your industry partners and other community members. We're here to support you wherever you want to go. So whether it's a 3D printed student-run business or something totally different, we're more than willing to share this information and our expertise and help you out wherever we can. So thank you all again for joining us today, and we hope to see you all real soon.